Welcome, welcome. We hope we have fun tonight. I really want to have, I just have thought about this for a long time. All right, so here we go. Tonight we're going to talk about fabric pattern combinations. I did a DVD some years ago. It's called The Fabric Always Wins. And tomorrow in your email, it will have a little discount on that. The fabric always wins. So the whole goal in doing that, and now that I sell more and more fabric all the time, I recognize how you think a little bit, and I want to kind of shift that thinking a little bit if we can. So first off, here's some common misconceptions that I hear. What percent of stretch do I need in the fabric? Like, why don't you put up percent of stretch? Well, because you don't need percent of stretch, you just change your sizing. There's not one fabric that will work for the pattern. The pattern will work for anything, you'll just adjust your sizing. So I want to broaden your scope of kind of how we think and what we think, and we're going to talk about some rules. So remember, and you guys are, I feel like in the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever the number's been, LCD has been life-changing for many of you. LCD, length, circumference, depth. LCD has been life-changing. And so those little initials, put how they are, it really helps you train yourself to think, to rethink how to see fit. So I really felt like it was appropriate to maybe put some different letters in your head now to help you think about fabric pattern combinations. Fabric pattern combinations, that's what we're dealing with. Because I'm hearing it very often, and it is said that I didn't expect that, or that's not what I wanted. So first off, you have to watch expectations, especially when you're buying fabric online. We do a YouTube video so you can see it a little better, but it's hard. It's still hard. And so the fabric always wins. The fabric is what should come first. And I know you all don't do that, but the more you do that, I think the happier you're going to find that you like your garments. So these rules we're going to put up, and we're going to go over them. They're B, C, D, F, Y. B, C, D, F, Y. All right, so when we deal with it, and then we're going to practice. I've got fabrics here. We're going to go through and say what we would make, because it's not personal, it's rules. The last one, why, make it about you, is personal. And I've got some examples of how we can change it up. But it's not personal, so we just want to look at the rules of fabric and pattern and how they conjoin, and then hopefully it will help you in your process of picking the right fabric for the right pattern for yourself. Okay, so the first one, B. So B is it a bottom or top weight? So that's really, when you feel a fabric, could it be a blouse? Could it be a jacket? Is it bottom weight or a top weight? Complex or simple is C. So that's the pattern on the fabric. Solids or simple. This one, for instance, is complex. So complex or simple, the pattern of the fabric. So when you first start, sorry, I need to go back, bottom or top weight, you want to match whatever your answer is to the pattern. So for instance, if it's a top weight, we're looking for a top. If it's a bottom weight, we're looking for a bottom. I know that's so simplistic, but I want to make it that simplistic. On the next one, which is complex, we want to do opposite the pattern. So if it's a complex fabric, I want a simple pattern. And if it's a simple fabric, I want a more complex pattern. So I want to do opposite of whatever the selection is. And it says this in our little rules. Okay, then drape. Does it have great drape, or does it need direction? And that would be darting, seams, princess seams, direction. If I take a piece of cloth and it doesn't drape well, I can tell it what to do. I can tell it where to go. I can tell it everything. But if it has great drape, it doesn't need a lot of direction. So does it have great drape, or does it need direction? And I want to match that. Very important that I match that to the pattern. Then the next one, is it feminine or masculine? And again, I want to match that to the pattern. So feminine, masculine, here we've got stripes here. And feminine, solid isn't either one. Polka dots here are feminine. I want to match that to the pattern. And then the last one, I think is the hardest, but you know you guys will do great on this. You're going to make it about you. A lot of times we've seen people's clothes and we say, oh, they look so much like so-and-so. And that's good and bad. You know, you don't really want to be pegged into your clothing. You want to have enough variety, but that will come with gaining confidence in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Okay, so if you're ready, those 5 things. We're going to look for bottom or top weight, complex or simple, drape or direction, feminine or masculine, and then make it about you. So we're going to start with the outfit I have on. And we're going to start with this fabric. This is my jacket fabric. And we did this on a little webcast, but I kind of wanted, there's a reason I'm wearing it. So we're going to look at the fabric. And again, I know you can't feel it, but we're going to go over our little rules. And you guys are going to give me answers. You don't have to answer in the chat box, but you guys are going to tell me what the answers are, or tell yourself. Okay, so I know, again, you can't feel it, but is it a bottom weight or a top weight? And I can really do either, because I can do a jacket or I can do pants. And again, don't say, oh, I wouldn't do pants with that. Don't do that. Do one, let each step, the B, C, D, F, Y, eliminate what you wouldn't do so that you end up with a small section of what you're looking for that has all of the answers in there. Okay, so B, I'm going to call it a bottom or top weight. I'm going to say it's both. The next one, is it complex or simple? I'm going to say it's complex. It's got a lot going on. It's complex. Is it drape or need direction? There's not a lot of drape. So I would look for darts, I would look for seams, princess seams, I would look for direction. Feminine or masculine? It's definitely feminine. Polka dots or circles, so I want to look for either no characteristics in the pattern or like a shawl collar. Okay, so then you have, the last one is you. So you take all those things together, and what did I say? I looked for a shawl collar because it was feminine. I looked for a pattern that had direction, which mine had cup sizing in it, which gave me that direction. So I didn't rely on drape. I kept it simple because there's only 2 pieces to this pattern. I guess there's 3 or 4, but anyway, simple pattern because the pattern itself is complex, and I did a jacket. Could have done pants, could have done a skirt, could have done all those things. And then when I say you make it about you. That's when you come in and like you put on the clasp you want, or you put on, you know, some way that it makes that garment you. Those things that make it you are about you. They're buttons, they're zippers, they're trims, they're all of those things that make that garment about you. Okay, so let's do it again. This fabric is what I have on top and bottom. Okay, and here's 922. This is what I did my jacket out of. And when you look at that, it has all of the check marks or all of the answers that we arrived at with that polka dot fabric. Okay, so here we're going to take a piece of fabric. I should give you these fabric numbers, huh? The jacket I don't have. But the reason I did it is because there's a new navy. This is an Alexander Wang, and there's a new navy. It's a tone-on-tone navy polka dot. And I just put it up. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, I can't remember. But that, when this is complex, that would have been simple because it doesn't have the contrast of color. And so both of those polka dots, they're still up there, but they would make, like the polka dot, the navy tone-on-tone, you could do pants out of, where I think this, I personally wouldn't do pants out of it, but see again how that crosses over to personality. It's just a matter of, but somebody else might. You know, it's clear we have differences there. And that's not a right or wrong. That's just you. That's you. Okay, so this one is going to be 7141. 7141 is the fabric. And then also there's one that's similar to it it's a wine. It's way down on the page. I don't have the fabric number, but it's very pretty, and it's very similar. So it's a reversible fabric. Both sides are good. Both sides are usable. You can see that I decided to use the darker side. So let's go through the questions and see what it is. Is it a bottom or top weight? And obviously it can be either one. And there's a lot of fabrics that can be either one. But there's some fabrics we're going to come across that cannot be either one. And when you make up a bottom for it, you have problems with it. You know, that's when you don't like the garment when you finish, because some of those questions you didn't answer correctly. All right, so is this complex or simple? This is absolutely simple. It's a solid. So it's simple to it. And when I make a pants and a top, which is what I've done out of it, then they what we call our basics, because you have a simple fabric and you make a simple pattern and it becomes basic. It's not going to do a lot of talking. It's not going to do a lot of, wow, that's a great outfit, but it's a basic. All right, the next one is drape. Does it have drape? It's got great drape. Just FYI, it's got great drape. And that's why I do those YouTubes, because a lot of times I'll feel that fabric and I'll say, oh, this has amazing drape, it's beautiful. You know, that's the goal in doing that. And then is it feminine or masculine? In this case, solid isn't either one. So you can see this solid fabric is like a blank canvas. You can do an awful lot about it. You can make it you. So in this particular case, what I wanted it for, because it is a really pretty fabric and because it has really great drape, I wanted it for a pair of pants, and I wanted it for a top, and I wanted it for this jacket. So what I want to show you, though, is that these fabrics, I had somebody at the store put them together and said, oh, but they don't match. And I said, I would wear them together. And they said, really? They don't match. They don't match. They blend. And so when you look at all the tones that are in fabrics, you can see that my jacket and my pants and my top, which is 7141, and then my jacket's out of this, it's just a really pretty combination. It just matches. And it's not the navy. It doesn't have to be, like I said, matchy-matchy. It's not the white. You don't have to pick one of those two colors. There's a lot of other colors that will just blend. And so that is, I think, a big advantage of having a mannequin, because you can take and put it on the mannequin and step away from it. And you can get a distance from it, a visual, and say, hey, I really like that. So what I did for the pants were 3423. That's the pull-on cargo pant. And then what I did for the tank top was 514. So I knew I was creating the space. It was a great color to do it out. It was a little different than anything I had, and I knew lots of different things would go with it. So that was the goal. Okay. Now, it's y'all's turn. Okay? Okay, questions. How we doing? Questions? Okay. Okay. So I want to show you, well, no, not yet. Sorry. I want to go to this fabric right here. And so what I did is I just cut yardage. I don't want these to fall off, though, because I don't want you to peek. I want you to come along with me and choose a pattern. Now, I know y'all don't know the patterns like I know the patterns, but, you know, and there's not one right answer. That's the fun of this. You know, really collectively, there could be several answers that could be right, as long as you land within what the little rules are telling us to land to. Okay, so we're going to start with this silk, and this silk is, I'm sorry, you guys, I keep losing my notes. The silk is 7090, 7090. And so the silk, is it a top weight or a bottom weight? It's definitely a top weight. It's very light. It's very thin. Now keep in mind that we are seeing right now for spring a lot of very lightweight pants print and a lot of lightweight blouses. So when I see that, I fast forward to myself, could I wear that? And for me, the answer is no. They feel like pajamas. So I don't feel comfortable in clothes like that in public. But I've seen other women with those clothes in public, And I think they look fabulous. But for me, the answer is no, and that's who I'm dressing. I'm dressing me. Okay, so bottom weight or top weight, I would only say it's a top weight because I wouldn't feel comfortable in a bottom weight. Complex or simple, it's definitely complex. A draper needs direction. This is 100% silk. It has zero drape. It has no drape at all. It definitely needs direction. If you tried to make a scarf out of this, it would be poofy. It's just way too thin. It's too light. There's no drape at all. Feminine or masculine? It's definitely feminine. Okay, so now what I'm looking for is I want a blouse or top weight because it's a woven. I want a blouse. I want a simple pattern, somewhat simple. I mean, it doesn't mean it can't have some things on it. I want some direction. I need either darts or princess seam. And I need it to be have some feminine properties. So you go through all those patterns and you want to come up with an answer. And the one I came up with was 709. 709. Now, when you guys look at this, you can say, hey, yeah, I like that, or hey, I don't like that. But if you go back on, hey, I like it, or hey, I don't like it, you can start to say why you do or why you don't like it. And that is the goal. The goal is for us to discover why we like things and why we don't like things. And I think if you go through that process of why we like or why we don't like, or this process of these 5 things, 709 is Kelsey's blouse. Now, Kelsey's blouse was Armani. This original was an Armani. Now, I'm gonna change this up. I've got these buttons just buttoned on. I mean, pinned on in place because I want to change it. I want to show you a couple things. But I'm going to show you this blouse. So because I know it's an Armani, because I know I copied Armani, I went back to the Armani website and I saw this blouse. And now this is a current blouse that's on sale by Armani. Designers have a tendency, I'm sure you all know because we're designers on some level, we use the same patterns over and over. We change them up here, we change them up there, but we use the same thing kind of over and over. So this is a current Armani. You can see the price, you can see the drape, just a beautiful shawl collar, very drapey, et cetera, et cetera. And I love the sleeve. So I actually stole the sleeve, and all the sleeve is a little bit of elastic. When you wear the jacket, I cut the sleeve 3 inches longer, and I put a little elastic piece in. This is about making it you. When I have it on, it's beautiful. Those gathers in that elastic right there are very, very pretty. So that's a little thing that doesn't change any of those answers, but it makes it a little bit more about me. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to take off these buttons because remember, buttons are a big choice. We want the buttons to be feminine. We want to follow the rules. But I'm going to show you something that I think is just going to be fun. Okay, so I've got those buttons off, and I'm going to take and give you one button here and see what that does to change it up. I guess I could use a pin and pin that on. Okay, so here now is my new look. Or I could put 2 buttons, or I could just put a snap. I could put piping in here. I could put piping here. All of those things don't change, the answers. They just change that it makes it look personal to us, design details. But it doesn't change the base pattern, and it doesn't change how the fabric and the pattern are a good combination. And that's the goal. Okay, what is the pattern for the pants that you're wearing tonight? 3423. 3423. Now these are the pull-on cargo pant, and then they have pockets, they have all this stuff. But I love these pants. I just cut them as one. So I overlay the top. The front has 2 pieces, and then all the pockets, and I just overlay them and cut them as one. So 3423 is that answer. For your outfit, do you consider the other side of the fabric for the top for contrast from the pants? I did, and I actually didn't finish it, but I've got it cut out. I made a top from the other side. So when I want to wear something different, I have the tank top from the lighter side. because I really felt I had just a little bit of fabric left over, and I had enough to do a tank top with. So you can see I can do a lighter tank top. I just annihilated my microphone, sorry. I can do a lighter tank top out of the other side that will match beautifully with the pants because it's the front and back of the fabric, but it's not going to work with this jacket. So I went ahead and made the darker side for this jacket. But that's when you really start to get clothing that really goes a long way, and it really has multiple purposes and features, and it's nice. Please, if you have time, discuss the weight of the fabric. I know you mentioned the product description is to be considered when choosing top or bottom weight. Yeah, so we use 2, 3, and 4 ounce. All of our fashion fabrics are going to be 2, 3, or 4 ounce. 2 is telling you, well, this is a 2. I mean, this is just like, weighs nothing. This would be a 2. Your sheers generally are a 2. They're very light, very thin. 3 are, most of the fabrics we have are 3. And then 4 would be a Pontoroma, a denim. Sometimes denims are 5, but you know, basically that. So anytime you see a 3, most of the time it can be used for either top or bottom. And 4, in my mind, signifies jacket or bottom weight. So even though it's a 4, it still can be used for a jacket, and that's why it's important to go through this little questionnaire thing for yourself. Are we good there? Okay, so let's go over the next one then. This fabric is a 100% cotton. It's really lightweight. If you can kind of see, you almost can see through it. It's very lightweight. So you might get this and say, okay, what am I going to make out of this? There we go. Here we start. So the first question is, I keep forgetting my list. The first question is bottom or top weight. You could do this as a bottom weight, but recognize that it would be very sheer. So most likely you would not want it as a bottom weight. You want it as a top weight. Next is a complex or simple. It's simple. You know, it's a solid. Solids are simple. Does it drape or need direction? It has really good drape in it. It does have good drape. So you can see that it's high twist and it's very close together. So you don't necessarily need darts. Feminine or masculine, we know it's neither one because it's a solid. And there we go. We take those details. We know we want something that's a top weight that is, it can be complex because it's okay to be complex. And we start looking at all those drapey, this is a knit, it has stretch in one direction. We start looking at all those great, and there's so many that we could do. Like, if I could just ramble some off in my head, there's 123, there's 422. There's so many we can do, but because I have new patterns, I really wanted to do the new pattern, and so I did the new pattern, and this is 224. And this is a tunic, and this is dual layer, this is dual layer. It has a twist to it, it has this drapey thing all the way down to the front, and it was perfect for something lightweight like that. This is called the dual layer asymmetrical wrap tunic dress. It just depends on whether you want to lengthen it for a dress. All right, so if you disagree, tell me why you disagree. And if you agree, you don't need to tell me. But you can see, there can be more than one answer. It's just as long as at least the answers you come up with meld with the pattern. That's all. Okay, how are we doing? Okay, let's do another one. And then you guys need their homework assignment. You're going to go to your stash. You're going to say complex or simple, da, 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 and match them, okay? Okay, let's do this blue one. So this is, oh, I'm sorry, the wine fabric, I'm not telling you these numbers. The wine fabric is 71.35. The pattern is 224. It's new. Nobody has the pattern yet. A couple weeks, we'll get all those patterns mailed out. 71.35. The blouse is 70.90 is the fabric. The tank and the top eye of honor 71.41. And then this is 71.33. Okay, so 71.33. That's the fabric we're going to start with. It comes, it's an Alexander Wang, and we put it up, in a cream, a charcoal, a blue, similar to the wine. They're pretty. They're very pretty. And they have a really light stripe through them. So here we go. Let's start with the questions. The questions are bottom or top weight. I don't really see that as a bottom weight. I think it would be a top weight. Complex or simple? I would say complex, because you can't turn it, this is a knit, but you can't turn a pattern piece any direction because it's got the line, it's linear. So I would call that complex, not simple. Drape or needs direction, it's actually got good drape. It's got really good drape. Feminine or masculine, I'd call it masculine. A stripe is always a masculine. Florals, polka dots, circles, all that are feminine. Checks, stripes, houndstooth, all of those are masculine. Okay? And then, so I'm going to make a top weight. I'm going to do something that is a simple pattern or something that takes advantage of these stripes, because I got stripes here and I could take advantage of them. And then I don't need a lot of drape, so I could do something that didn't have a lot of fit to it because it would drape and drape well. And I want to use a pattern that's a little bit masculine. Okay, you ready? Any guesses, you guys? Here we go. All right, so what I did is I did pattern number 220. And I'll tell you why I did 220, and I'll show it to you here in just a sec. Is 220 has an overlay in the back. And what it does is it crosses, so the stripes are in this way are going this direction, and on the bottom they're going up and down. Now you may not be able to see that on what we're looking at tonight. But I love the idea that I could take a knit. It's a, it's a sweater. It's like an overlay. And I'll take this off because I don't have to, I don't have to really make it fitted. It has French darts. It's cute. It's got a little side panel right here that's open. It's an adorable little sweater, but it's just perfect for just something light, easy to throw on, and you love the color. Then when you start talking about making it personal is when you add a scarf, or you add whatever it is you want to add to it that makes it, just you, or nothing. If you just want to wear it simple, you certainly can. All right, so there, just makes it fun outfit, and again, the pieces all work together very, very well. Okay, what's the jacket you have on? The jacket I have on is 922. I had the pattern here, and it's somewhere on the floor. 922 is called Easy Shawl Color Unlined Jacket. There's no shoulder pad. I just rolled up the sleeve. I did it in a YouTube, so I showed you all the I don't think I really made any changes, just the sleeve itself. But it's on a YouTube from a little bit ago. If you wash the silk in Coke, it would drape. If you wash the silk in Coke, it would drape? Okay, got it. Okay, no, washing the Coke is not going to give it drape. Washing the Coke does not change. If anything, it gives it less drape, not more. It softens fabric. So let's go back to the silk for a minute. And did I interface it? No, I wouldn't use any interfacing. And the reason I wouldn't use any interfacing in this particular case, number one, it doesn't need it. But number two, it's got a texture to it. And I really like that texture, and I want to preserve that texture. So I wouldn't want to do anything that would alter that texture. And so I don't think, for me, most of the time, if you're doing the right fabric and the right pattern, you don't need interfacing, not in today's fabrics. If you're changing the hand of the fabric, that's a different story. But for most, you just don't need it. Could you underline the silk to make a jacket? Yes. Yes, you could. There are jackets out there right now. You could easily make this into a jacket. This is kind of like a jacket, I think. Silk is a very durable fabric. They're very light. The problem with a very light garment is light garments don't drape well, and jackets need to drape. So that's why you would fuse it. You're trying to change the hand of the original fabric. But again, I mean, and you can do that if you're just really stuck on one fabric and you really want a certain garment for a certain occasion, yada, yada. But I think the goal when we are looking at fabric is to make it the most it can be without altering it. We just do, you know, Michael Faircloth was on our show, PBS show, a little while ago, and you know, he said he's found that as he designs and really gets better and better at designing, really what he's doing is he's learning to take the fabric and do what it does best. Learn the characteristics of it. Learn, you know, instead of trying to force that square peg into the round hole, do what's natural to that fabric. Observe the characteristics of the fabric and follow them. Will you be incorporating B, C, and D and F in the future introduction of new fabrics? No, I can't do that for you guys. You have to do that for yourselves. I'm teaching it to you so that when you get the fabric, you will go through and decide what it is. I mean, on some level, we already do it. We tell you, let's see, let's go through these again and just make sure that, I make sure. Maybe we do them all, maybe we do it already, but we don't do it in that format. Bottom or top weight, you know, we do that in the ounces. Complex or simple, that's just your decision. Drape, I do that on the YouTube. Feminine or masculine, those are your decisions, you guys. And what you do with it is your decision. I'm not trying to be a dictator as much as I'm trying to help you make decisions that are just rules of cloth that will help you get into the right. If you're making clothing for yourself and you're skipping along and you're just loving what you make, you don't probably need any of this. You know, you're doing it great. I just want to give you an outline as to what will help you nail it every time, and this will. Okay, could you explain again how you did the gathered sleeve in the first top? Yes. So on this top, the first thing I did is I cut it longer. I cut it 2 inches longer because I actually wanted it to go to my wrist, and I knew it needed gathering. So I just added length to the bottom, and I added 2 inches. And then all I did is this pattern, 709, has a 2-piece sleeve. So I knew I would have a seam right there at the front that I could put a piece of elastic into. So I cut a 6-inch piece of elastic and I stretched it 10 inches. I started at the bottom and I literally just stitched it right to the seam itself. There's no stitching. You can't see any stitching on top. It's just literally stitched in, and I took 6 inches, I stretched it to 10, I stitched it to the seam allowance, bam, that's it. So if you looked inside, you're going to see my elastic just right there in the seam. Okay, very simple to do, but very pretty. I think it's very pretty, very soft, and I think it really carries out the whole feminine theme. The shawl collar, everything else, which is why a lot of times just a little change like that really makes a big difference. And I really like that sleeve. So it was fun to do. Okay. How we doing? Is that good, you guys? Does that give you food for thought? B, C, D, F, Y. Obviously, making it about you is really important, because there's lots of times where I'll have this scarf on, and somebody will say, gee, I wonder why she wears that scarf. It's such an ugly scarf. Well, because I like it. So it really gets to be where we have to decide all that stuff. Okay? Would you please tell us what your definition of drape is? I don't think I'm understanding exactly what it is. Yeah, so drape, what drape is it's really a density of the thread. There's two things that are really considered in drape. If you think of the fabric as yarn, it's how tightly that yarn is twisted. And then the second thing is, it's how compact those yarns are woven together. So it's those two things. Number one, it's how tight the twist is on the thread and how tightly they're woven. On silk, you can't have a real high twist yarn because, and cotton too, it breaks. Silk is better than cotton, but it breaks. So a lot of times when you're dealing with silk and cotton, you're not getting a real high twist. So that's why you don't get a real drapey fabric. Some cases you do, in some cases you don't. When you're talking ITY, now we're talking a high polyester content, and the yarn is twisted very dense, very high, and the weave of those yarns are very dense. So because they're so close together, every little section will drape well. It will handle and fall because there's no air space. Kind of think of air pockets. Air pockets in clothing are our enemies. Okay? There's no drape in those clothing. When you list fabrics on the website, would you mention top weight or bottom weight? It's very hard for me to feel it online. I already do that. I can't tell you it's a top weight or bottom weight. I can tell you it's 3 ounce or 4 ounce because, for instance, this is a 4 ounce, but I decided it was a top weight. It can be used for top or bottom. A 3 can be used for top or bottom. A 2 can be used for bottom. So I'm just trying to give you guides to where you decide what you like. Okay? I shouldn't be telling you, and you shouldn't want me to tell you anymore. I tell you all enough, okay? All right, other questions that we have. The goal is start looking through the fabrics. We've got some great fabrics online. But I would suggest to you, you could have something in mind, but buy fabric because you love it. And then when you get it, go through and decide and go through these questions and say, gee, what would I do with it? Because it ultimately is about you. Again, with this silk, there's a lot of things for spring that are top and bottom out of the same fabric. They're just this kind of pajama suit look. I just don't care for it. So other than that, it's okay. It's great. All right, anything else? We're good? Okay. So with that, we're going to say goodnight to you all. We're going to say happy sewing is the goal. That fabric pattern combination, I've really worked for a long time to try to get you some rules that would really help. And I think these are really good ones. Stick with them. Keep going. Keep kind of classifying that all down. And we'll go from there. All right. See you next time. Bye.